David Gilmour has spent most of his life behind the guitar, not the microphone. As the legendary guitarist of Pink Floyd, he is known for his emotional playing, powerful solos, and thoughtful presence. He's not someone who often speaks publicly about his personal life or tastes. But now, at 79, Gilmour has opened a window into his heart. He recently shared the names of 6 rock women who inspired him the most. These women didn't just shape the music he listened to, they touched his soul. In each of them, he found a reflection of himself, their strength, sadness, creativity, and truth echoed what he felt deep inside. This list isn't just about admiration. It's about the moments, memories, and quiet respect he has carried with him over the decades. Through their music, they helped shape his journey as an artist and as a man. When David Gilmour first heard Joni Mitchell, something changed inside him. He was driving through the English countryside when one of her songs came on the radio. It wasn't just music, it was like hearing someone sing from his own heart. Joni's voice had a unique sadness, a quiet beauty that could stop time. Her lyrics were like poems, full of deep thoughts and emotions. What amazed Gilmour the most was her way of playing the guitar. She used open tunings and strange chords that gave her songs a special sound. It reminded him of the kind of music he loved to make, something that was more than just sound, something that had soul. The two artists finally met backstage in London during the 1970s. Joni played an early version of her song Coyote, and Gilmour listened in silence. They didn't talk much, but there was a quiet connection between them. Years later, he would still say that Blue, her album, was one he would take to a desert island. To him, Joni wasn't just a great singer, she was someone who understood the silence, the sadness, and the spirit behind every note. Stevie Nicks brought a different kind of energy into Gilmour's life. Where Joni Mitchell was soft and reflective, Stevie was powerful, wild, and full of magic. When Gilmour met her in Los Angeles during the 1980s, he was immediately struck by her presence. She didn't just enter a room, she floated in, like a storm wrapped in lace. Her voice was rough yet beautiful, like a whisper and a scream at the same time. Gilmour was fascinated by her strength. She had gone through addiction, heartbreak, and personal struggles, yet she always returned stronger. Her music wasn't just about pain, it was about fighting through it. Stevie's lyrics felt like spells, full of mystery and emotion. There was talk of working together on music, but it never happened. Still, the moment left a mark on him. He later said it wasn't just her voice that moved him, it was her courage. She carried both light and darkness and wasn't afraid to show either. In Stevie, he saw a woman who turned pain into power, who wore her wounds like armor. She reminded him that true art doesn't come from perfection, it comes from surviving and singing anyway. Chrissie Hynde, the lead singer of The Pretenders, brought raw energy into rock music. She wasn't about glamour or softness, she was bold, loud, and real. When David Gilmour saw her perform live in the early 1980s, he was stunned. She didn't ask for attention, she took it. Her voice wasn't pretty in the traditional sense, but it was powerful. It sounded like broken glass wrapped in silk, sharp, painful, but unforgettable. Gilmour met her briefly in Paris during a tribute concert. In a backstage room, they shared a bottle of wine. She talked about politics, while he talked about guitar sounds. They were very different, but that made their connection more interesting. Gilmour admired how Chrissie didn't hide her pain. She let it show in her music. Her songs were about real life, anger, love, betrayal, and she didn't try to make it sound nice. He respected that. It reminded him that rock music is supposed to be dangerous and honest. Chrissie brought back that edge. She made him remember why he fell in love with music in the first place. She didn't clean up her truth, she screamed it. And that kind of bravery left a lasting impact on him. Among all the women on Gilmour's list, Kate Bush might be the one he helped most directly. He discovered her when she was just 19, listening to a demo tape that was rough but magical. Right away, he knew she was something special. Her music was strange, theatrical, and emotional, like nothing he'd ever heard before. It felt like she was singing from a different world, sending messages from the future. Gilmour didn't just listen and move on, he believed in her. He helped bring her into the studio, helped protect her creative ideas, and supported her when others didn't understand. He wasn't trying to control her, he wanted her voice to stay pure. When her debut single Wuthering Heights became a hit, Gilmour didn't feel proud like a teacher. He felt awe, like a fan who had seen a star being born. Over the years, he would often listen to her music in the middle of the night. Her songs made him think deeply and feel things that couldn't be explained with words. To Gilmour, Kate Bush reminded him that music doesn't always have to make sense. Sometimes, it just has to make you feel something powerful, and that's more than enough. Unlike the others, Gilmour and Patti Smith never worked together. They rarely even met. But her influence on him was strong. Patti wasn't just a singer, she was a poet, an artist, a spiritual force. Her voice wasn't smooth, but it was full of meaning. Her lyrics sounded like prayers shouted through a storm. Gilmour said her music felt like truth, raw and unfiltered. He would often return to her records when he was feeling lost or struggling with his own creativity. There was something comforting in her honesty. She didn't try to be famous. She didn't try to be perfect. She just was. Patti's songs were filled with rebellion, but not the kind that's angry for no reason. Her rebellion had purpose. She stood for something, and that strength inspired Gilmour. He admired how she could turn chaos into art and silence into something sacred. In a world full of noise, Patti's voice cut through like a blade. She reminded him that real music isn't always pretty. Sometimes, it's loud, messy, and painful. But it's also true, and that kind of truth is what he's always been drawn to. For David Gilmour, these 6 women weren't just talented musicians, they were life-shaping forces. Each of them brought something different into his world. Joni gave him quiet reflection, Stevie gave him strength, Chrissy gave him fire, Kate gave him magic, and Patti gave him fearless truth. They helped him understand parts of himself he might not have found otherwise. He didn't just admire their music. He listened to them in the quiet moments, before concerts, during long drives, or when he needed direction. Their voices became part of his own voice, their stories part of his story. In every guitar solo he played, in every lyric he wrote, there's a small part of these women living inside it. Gilmour didn't share this list to impress anyone. He shared it as a way to honor those who helped him on his journey. These weren't just his favorite rock women, they were his emotional compass. Their courage, creativity, and flaws reminded him that true greatness isn't perfect, it's real, raw, and earned. And for an artist who spent a lifetime chasing sound, these 6 voices gave him something even more precious, a reason to keep listening. When we look at David Gilmour's music, its haunting guitar solos, its emotional depth, its quiet sadness, we can now begin to understand where some of that energy may have come from. These 6 women didn't just inspire Gilmour with their music. They helped shape the very soul of his artistic identity. In Joni Mitchell's poetic sadness, you can hear the echoes in songs like Wish You Were Here. In Stevie Nicks' emotional strength, you can feel the spirit of endurance found in Comfortably Numb. With Chrissie Hynde's defiance, there's a connection to the quiet resistance in High Hopes. And in Kate Bush's otherworldly melodies, Gilmour found permission to reach beyond the limits of ordinary songwriting. Even Patti Smith's raw spiritual chaos finds its place in the darker corners of Pink Floyd's The Wall. What makes these connections even more beautiful is how unspoken they often were. They weren't afraid to show their pain, to be strange, or to tell uncomfortable stories. That courage stayed with him. In a world where artists are often told to fit into a box, these 6 women showed Gilmour that breaking the mold is not only brave, it's necessary. And perhaps that's why, at 79, when asked about the artists who truly touched him, he chose women who refused to be anything but themselves. Their music reminded him, and reminds all of us, that the most lasting art comes from the heart. It's not always clean or easy to understand. It can be messy, emotional, and even painful. But it stays with you. Just like Gilmour's guitar solos linger in the air, these women's voices lingered in his life, long after the songs ended. They gave him not just music, but perspective. They reminded him, and remind his fans, that greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's quiet, personal, and carried in the soul of an artist across a lifetime. Subscribe for more videos.